Good morning.
The magic has worked once again.
Yeah, how about that? I'm Teresa Mitchell.
And I'm Ani. And here we are uh, at the very top of the latest installment.
Oh, this is now a bridge to a better world.
And we're happy to be with you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to talk about. There's really just never any shortage of news these days. More is the pity. I kind of, I long for a boring time, but that is not the time we have.
All the same, I like to have a bright, sunny orange juice in my morning, don't you?
I do like to have and orange juice tastes sunnier now somehow.
Yeah, because, it's been announced that Anita Bryant is dead. And we were just talking about this, and you just found out that she's been dead for
I,
a
I
week or so.
I ended up looking her up in Wikipedia, and yeah, it seems like she might have died in December. That said, it's been announced as of yesterday, Anita Bryant is dead. For those that may not know Anita Bryant, she was a woman who had she was an up and coming pop singer
She was
in
Miss
the
America.
70s. She was Miss America, Miss Oklahoma, I think. Wasn't she Oklahoma?
Okay, maybe Oklahoma.
But yeah, but I mean, she was a beauty queen uh in the early 70s. She had a little pop career and Christian songstress who threw it all away in 1977 by becoming a crusader against the gays. And how do I remember this so very well? Because in 1977, I was 11 years old and figuring out I was one of the gays. And so it was that moment in history where I was like, huh, you know, all the stories say that I need to be attracted to the boys in the classroom, but in fact, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm kind of liking the girls. And as an 11-year-old without a lot of role models in 1977, I was a little confused by this. But thanks to Anita Bryant, I got to find out exactly what homosexuals were, and how there was a group of people that were ready to kill us. Kind of all at the same time. This was my coming out story. Anita Bryant was actually kind of crucial in a way that I'm sure she never wanted to be, into me figuring out that I was queer as heck.
You were a
So
homosexual?
well, technically, I'm a bisexual. Perhaps pansexual, I believe the term is now, because we don't believe in a binary system anymore, do we?
Nope.
Anyways,
But it tinges our thoughts, don't it?
I just I gotta say, hopefully wherever she went, someone had a pie waiting. Thank you so much, Tat, for that. That's great.
I just want to say,
Yeah.
live your life in a way that people do not dance upon news of your death. And I suppose that's why they delayed it, to keep people from dancing on the casket.
The end scene from Albert Finney's Scrooge, right?
Right.
Thank you very much. It's the kindest thing that anyone's ever done for me.
Right.
That I had that playing in my head for most of the evening. So there's that. That's the good news for the morning. You had other good news. I think you wanted to talk
some
about.
really good news. Ozzy seems to have some news, but I guess
No, I think Ozzy's just sort of staring.
He's to be off stage. Okay.
He's just sort of staring as he does.
Well, President-elect Donald Trump was sentenced. Don't you like the past tense of that? Friday today in his hush money case, but the judge declined to impose any punishment. An outcome that cements his conviction but frees him to return to the White House unencumbered by the threat of a jail term or a fine. But he does have the phrase felon associated with him forever. He could have been sentenced to 4 years. He could have been sentenced to 4 days. I would have liked that. I mean, what's wrong with 4 days? Hey, he's not president in 4 days. But that is not what happened. He is planning on having a Nuremberg revenge rally at the White House the day before his inauguration. Won't that be fun? So that kind of brings us up to the latest news. But in view of that, I was put in mind once again of the quote often attributed to P.T. Barnum, which is not actually from P.T. Barnum. I'll bet you know the quote already. It's actually from H.L. Mencken, who in his days was sort of like Dave Barry. He wrote a sardonic column in the Baltimore Sun. And the actual quote is, No one in this world, so far as I know, and I've searched the records for years and employed agents to help me, has ever lost money by underestimating the intelligence of the great masses of the plain people, nor has anyone ever lost public office thereby. The mistake that is always made, the mistake that is made always runs the other way, because the plain people are able to speak and understand, and even in many cases to read and write. It is assumed that they have ideas in their heads and an appetite for more. This assumption is a folly. That's H.L. Mencken in the Baltimore Sun on September 18th, 1926. And now that I've read the actual quote, I love it the more. And the snarkiness of the phrase, "this assumption is a folly," is going to stick with me. So here we have it. Trump's going to the White House.
So there is that. Anyone who had the pipe dreams of a last minute upset of some congressperson actually bringing up the fact that there is a sworn duty to keep him from the office after attempting to, have the insurrection, and how he is in fact convicted for felonies and twice twice impeached in his previous term, means that he could not sit again as per the 14th Amendment, Section 3. But no one did that. No one did that.
Yeah, and you Trumpers out there, well, you got what you wanted, and it was for Trump that you did things like go around with paper diapers on the outside of your clothing, sort of committing dignity suicide for your hero Trump. And I'm going to keep those pictures and remind you every now and then, every time he does something stupid, I'm going to show his supporters.
Well, speaking of people who are doing ridiculous things for Trump, the latest is, he's got media moguls basically coming before him to kiss the ring, right? And the latest is the Zook. For those of us that are still in some way on Facebook, I would like for us to think about a mass exit right about now. For the Zook has put out his announcement. He's, I think, gotten some human coaching, because his latest statement to the press, he actually did have facial expressions, as opposed to his previous, when he could have just been a dead ringer for Data from Star Trek. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, he was Data.
Yeah, but he's got some facial expression now. That doesn't actually mean he has a heart. Big difference. I think he has been coached in human attributes, though. That said, he has now fully supported the Trump plan, let's just say. That he has said that there will be no more fact checking. And in light of the political climate, that they will be returning the civic engagement, that is prioritizing political content once again, what that had been deprioritized as things got very heated during the COVID and insurrection and all of that. So Facebook messed with its algorithms and deprioritized hardcore political stuff, hypothetically, from the algorithmic plan. That is off now. And as is any kind of fact checking, because apparently people don't want that. And Zuckerberg wants to give the king what he wants. I mean, give the people what they want. This, again, was announced after his meeting with Trump.
Clownugula. He's getting some Zucker in his bowl. Yeah, darling. Well, there's some more good news to start off with. The 11th Circuit just reversed Judge Eileen Luce Cannon. This happened last night. So Jack Smith can fire away with releasing the report of all the details of just how viciously Trump fought to hold on to power and all the laws that he broke with January 6th. And I believe that also includes I may be mistaken, also includes the documents that he stole with all the interesting details of nuclear strategy, etc. A panel of judges on the 11th Court of Appeals has denied an effort to block the release of Special Counsel Jack Smith's final report on his 2 investigations into Donald Trump. And that was a quick one too. Judge Cannon said, "Oh no, you can't release it," and the 11th Court said,
"Oh yes, you can.
Oh yes, you can." So that happened. And just to review, Judge Eileen Cannon, who dismissed Trump's classified documents case, temporarily blocked the report's release on Tuesday, and then the matter was considered by the 11th Circuit. Merrick Garland's only comment is that he did not interfere with Jack Smith. Thanks, Merrick. You didn't interfere. So this, so much for celebrating, and now around to the real world seems to be on fire. LA
Literally
is burning on several places, and so this got me to thinking.
continuing to burn after a start on Tuesday. This is one of the largest cities in the country and one of the wealthiest cities in the country, has been on fire for 4 days.
Yeah. So, I mean, so this got us thinking about things like climate change and reinsurance and refugees. And so I noticed that there was a discussion on ABC about reinsurance, and it implied that the California State Fund FAIR, which has been mentioned now and then when people are saying, well, how are we going to pay for these since the insurance company backed out largely from those parts of California that it deemed likely to burn. They're saying that FAIR is likely to be strained by the fires. These are the experts. This is from someone who's going into the industry. Also, reinsurers, the people who, the insurance people turn to, the insurance people aren't stupid. They're going to get some insurance in case they run out of funds. The reinsurers in the industry are generally pulling back from Florida and California due not just to global warming, I found out, but also to house price inflation. There's just too much craziness and they don't want to lose money on it. After all, they're in business to get more money. So they're making sure if you want to insure your house in those parts of California, the answer is no, you can't.
Well, and so I think that this is really a travesty, first of all. There's a couple of things to think about here. One is for policymakers that are actually looking at where climate harm is likeliest to happen, I'm going to say, check out what the insurance industry is refusing to insure, because they're on it, right? There's money to be lost and they don't want to lose it. And so as they pull out of Southern California and other wildfire prone areas, as they pull out of the flooding prone and hurricane prone areas of Florida, as they pull back their coverage in areas that are going to be in the annual cycle of devastations now, we need to actually think, something's happening. Something huge is happening. And in fact, there's a problem, because it means that lives are going to be lost. It means that livelihoods are going to be lost. It means that communities are going to be lost. And so we need to actually mitigate the harm, right? That is actually what policymakers need to be taking away from this. The second thing they need to be taking away from this, if I may,
yes,
is it's time to end the corrupt practice of private insurance. Private insurance exists to take in the monies and then find reasons to not actually pay it out fully. That's how their shareholders actually, want the businesses to run. That's how the CEOs make the big bucks. That's the profit model that drives the insurance industry. So if in fact you're in an area that is hard hit and going to be harder hit by climate change, they're going to be pulling back that coverage. They don't want to lose money. They don't want you to actually have to make those claims, right? And so basically it is time to end for-profit insurance. I really do think that we need single payer coverage for our homes, our communities, our livelihoods, and our health, right? So like we are advocating single payer health coverage, I advocate for a national or statewide benefits program that will help people as our houses, lives, and livelihoods are ripped away by climate change, because we see the areas that are hit annually right now, and we know that they're going to be increasing throughout the country as we continue to fiddle while Rome burns, as we continue to do nothing to frickin' mitigate this climate catastrophe that unfolds around us. It's time to actually think ahead and start the mitigation efforts, because it's not going to stop climate change in its tracks. It's just going to slow down the harm being done, right? We need to immediately start those mitigation efforts, and we need to simultaneously prioritize helping folks recover from the disasters that unfold and will unfold like clockwork. How do we get the money for that?
Well, this brings me to the medium term. What's going to happen? There are so many of those houses that were burned. There are so many people who are now refugees. There are, I think that because the insurance company will not pay for rebuilding, then that whole area is going to change nature. I don't know what will be in those places where those houses were, but it's not going to be individual workers' bungalows. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. In the meantime, it is a terrible tragedy, and it adds to the number of refugees. I keep saying that when you're a refugee, no one cares why. You're just a refugee. And that applies to any of us and all of us. I looked it up just
the
before
internal
I went on air.
displaced, right?
Yeah, internally displaced refugees is what they're going to be called by the UNHR, the United Nations Human Rights Commission. And the question is, how many refugees are there in the world currently? I would like to know what percentage could be called climate refugees. These are now climate refugees. And we would be here in Portland if the fire came our way, which it could. 122.6 million people around the world have been forced to flee their homes. Among them, nearly 43.7 million are classified as refugees. And by the way, Clown Nigula wants to defund the United Nations because it has hurt his fifis in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the humane and rational thing to do is to strengthen and to outline brightly national refugee policy, because it's refugee time. It's the refugee time of the era. And we have to stand up for refugees, because right now refugees are the most powerless people that can be. The only way you could have less power, I suppose, would be to be in a prison. And even there, they have to have habeas corpus. And who knows where you are if you've been driven out of your home by a fire. So that is my takeaway from the situation now, is that let's look at what it means to be a refugee nationally. Let's push back on the automatic Trumpian Republican policy, which will be to tell people to get a job and go away, not necessarily in that order.
Well, and as Tat again very accurately points out, Trump is not going to be trying to help anyone who is facing a disaster in a, quote, blue state, end quote.
No, it's interesting how he's changed his tune about a whole lot of things. He got what he wanted. He got in power, and suddenly all that stuff that he said was just some stuff that he said. So,
oh, what a strange thing. Day ending in Y. So, what we know from his first go round, when there were still a few guardrails, right? That when the pandemic first started, in order to get PPE sent to your state, in order to get life-saving equipment sent to your state from the federal reserve of stuffs, federal emergency stuffs, in order to get access to that, again, you had to kiss the ring. I remember this coming down to a pretty terse statements made that were pretty direct, as Gretchen Whitmer was unable to secure pandemic supplies for Michigan, as again, states with strong blue governors, Democratic governors, found themselves out of favor when it came out time to hand out life-saving equipment, emergency needs. So we can go ahead and project, right? As he did before, he will do again. And so I think it's just important to keep that in mind, and to, again, create common bond, we cannot expect, nor should we want our governors to kiss his ring, right? So, how are we going to take care of ourselves? How are we going to do this without federal support? Because we know that Trump will weaponize federal support. Not a question. He's done it in the past. He'll do it again. And he's already blaming environmentalists for the fires. It makes no sense. He doesn't need to make sense. We don't expect him to make sense, right? He'll just say a lot of stuff that falls from his mouth and gets his base riled up. I don't even want to necessarily respond to his stuff falling from his mouth. I think that we just really need to make a plan and move forward. We know that he is in a despot. We know that he is unstable. We know he is driven by greed and some megalomania because he didn't get hugged enough as a child. I don't know. Certainly not for me to diagnose him or fix him.
We need a West
We
Coast.
need to, in fact, protect each other and provide shelter for each other.
Yeah.
We need a West Coast. Yes.
When you say we, I'm thinking Oregon, Washington, and California need to get together. And well, the governors need to get together about a number of things because of this situation. I suppose I could leave it at that. Oregon will be the poor relation in that grouping, but there's nothing we can do about that. So maybe we should convene that meeting of governors, put our hands out. Oh, did I say that out loud? That's the situation now. We've got a monster in the White House and monster fires in California, and oh my God.
Yeah. And we would be remiss if we did not talk about the other urgent issue of the day. Okay, there are many urgent issues. But one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize today is that we are prioritizing supporting a genocide. We are supporting financially and with our institutions. We are supporting a genocide. We are not mitigating climate change, and these things are actually connected because we have limited resources, right? We have huge, but still not infinite resources. And what we are spending to support the genocidalist Netanyahu in his continuing genocide, we could withdraw and support refugees and people rebuilding their lives both in Palestine and here. The people who are needing to put their lives back together after climate disaster strikes.
I want to say that it's time to point out and to end the outright bullying and inappropriate political pressure from right-wing Jewish organizations in the United States. When I say I love Jews, I am sincere, and I think of the Jews that I know who do not support genocide and who have been silenced in many ways. There are laws on the books that people lose their jobs if they pipe up against the genocide. No more of that. That's vicious.
We have today the news of NYU, New York University, suspending students for a year who participated in the protests against the genocide. We also hear that the New York Times has refused to run an ad from the Quakers from the American Friends Service Committee that calls out the genocide because, they don't like that word. And we have also found out that the House of Reps has sanctioned the International Criminal Court for finding that Netanyahu is guilty of genocide. How dare the International Criminal Court weigh evidence and come to an independent conclusion? This institution, this global institution that we helped to start to make sure we were not going to be facing fascist despotic takeovers and fascist actions around the world, right? Never again. Yep, that criminal court that started to help solve these problems. Well, it doesn't really have any actual teeth. It can't really enforce its orders. It relies on international cooperation. Instead of our cooperation, we say, F you, ICC. You didn't decide in our favor.
Yeah.
We really wanted this genocide to be supported, and how dare you call it out?
That American exceptionalism. Everyone except us has to obey laws and not commit genocides. But it is, in fact, a genocide. There's no way around it, and we have to just keep saying it and saying it louder. It's a genocide. I remember during the Vietnam War, I was near Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, and you didn't speak out against the war, and you didn't say words like napalm and white phosphorus. And yeah, genocide, because that was the order of the day. And I feel like those times have come back, and a people is being exterminated brutally. I could say a lot more words than brutally, but I guess that covers it. It's astonishing to see just how vicious this extermination is.
And I'm gonna, if I can butt in and say, that was really brought home. And this tie in my head got made on Wednesday night as we were watching the live coverage of people wandering through burning sections of LA. And excuse me, a report of this man standing in front of a melted building, just twisted metal and rubble, and it looked like a war zone. And he was near tears. And he was saying he has never seen any devastation like this, and how these people have lost everything they've owned. Can you imagine the suffering? And he was feeling it, and he conveyed that horror to his viewers, and we were feeling it.
Yeah,
that same network doesn't mention the genocide. We don't see people standing outside of rubble and melted structures that we know exist, right? If we see independent film, if we see independent coverage of the genocide, we know that the devastation actually looks eerily the same. And so we know that those same feels that got brought up for the people, and rightly so, the people that have been devastated in LA, those same feels are also extended to victims of genocide and victims of war and victims of extreme climate incidents around the world. That devastation is heartbreaking. And we as a nation need to not promote it. We need to not take part in that devastation. We need to reprioritize our national resources.
Well, these funds for the bombs come from Congress and are approved every year. And these same right-wing Jewish organizations have had Congress so firmly in their hands for so long that there is now a guarantee of a minimum of $3.8 billion in aid every year to Israel, and it's gone up to 12 billion this year. It's always been the nexus, the point that is needed to be addressed by the American people. I remember saying that despairingly during the election, and when it was pointed at Biden, Biden is guilty. Biden did not take the actions that he should have to stop those bombs. He dragged his feet a little bit, and that's just nothing, obviously, to the people of Gaza. But to stop it, we have to address Congress. I mean, Trump has promised to double down. It's always been Congress.
Not only has Trump promised to double down, but in fact, his son-in-law is looking at real estate, right? It's some good oceanside property once you clear out the Palestinians.
It's being sold once they pave it over.
And so, where is that hope? I would say we need to, in fact, really talk strongly to our congressional representatives, except, we gotta really talk strongly. Do I have a lot of hope that's going to work? Because that's the same House of Representatives that just sanctioned the ICC's determination that Netanyahu is a genocidalist.
But at least we have some entry. I mean, here in Oregon, our congressional our congressional group, our delegation, can say things in Congress, can introduce bills at times. You can have your voice heard to that extent, a much greater extent, still very small when it comes to this. But that is where we need to push our efforts against the Kahanists and the Likudniks,
Yep.
who have seized power.
This is important,
and
and
the Knesset.
we cannot rest. We have to continue to support all the representatives that understand this and are taking it seriously and are just in the minority right now.
And if you're a Kahanist and Likudnik, then I've got to say, for shame, for shame. There's no excuse. Stop pushing that line.
Yeah, like that. And so this is how I see things as being connected, because we are in fact prioritizing a budget that funds the military and spends military funding in ways that are directly anti-life, that do not keep us safer, that do not defend our nation, but in fact are, funding this genocide and funding other despots and funding our national protecting our national interests. Read this. The oligarchs, protecting oligarchic interests around the world. Because when it comes to the oligarchic interests, the heads of industries' interests, our money is no issue. And so there we are, using the public coffers to support the billionaires in every which way, in actions that are definitely anti-humanity. Let's turn that around. Cascadia now foreshore. Left coast, let's see what shelter we can make for each other in the here and the now as we keep the pressure on to help this world be a better place. I have, you are watching This Is Now, Bridge to a Better World. I'm Ani.
I'm Teresa.
And I have some tarot cards. Do you have anything else to say?
Socialism. But I would like to see what your cards have to say.
Anarcho-syndicalism.
Okay.
All right. That's not what the cards say. However, I just I have the need to yeah. Here's what the cards say. What does that all mean? Where are those cards? Why can I never figure out where the screen is? We have here the Four of Swords. We have here the Wheel of Fortune. It was on its head. And we have the Three of Pentacles.
The Wheel of Fortune is on its head.
The Wheel of Fortune is on its head.
Yikes.
Yeah, what does that mean? Okay, well, the Wheel of Fortune is really, let's start there, shall we? The Wheel of Fortune is about cycles. It's about seeing the end and beginning of cycles. It's about the sort of natural order of things as one thing progresses sort of systemically and naturally into the next. It is a constant, eternal process that evolves and unfolds around us. It is the hand of fate throwing dice. It's God throwing dice, right? It's the gods sitting down to a rousing game of Yahtzee, is kind of the Wheel of Fortune. And so when it's on its head, what does that mean? It means that, in fact, things are really chaotic right now. Things are in fluid motion. Things are spinning a little out of control. The wheel is spinning a little faster, and we cannot actually see clearly where things are going. We cannot see the shape of it. We cannot actually make out the patterns of how it's spinning at this time. So it's a very chaotic time that is often very distressing. It can leave us feeling like we are spinning our wheels and we have nowhere to go, which leads us to the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords talks about taking a big step back and reassessing our approach. The Four of Swords talks about conserving energy in the immediate because it's going to be needed in the future. So what I take this to mean is that right now, we don't even know how to try to move the energy. It is spinning wildly. Of course, we move always energy in the direction of love, of mutual aid, and community support. That is never amiss. But in terms of what actions to take, in terms of how to get about doing that, right now, the biggest call is to rest, to ground ourselves, and to make ourselves as ready as possible for when we are given the clear signs about what to do and how to do it. And that brings me to the Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles is about hard work. It's about learning new skills. It's about becoming apprentices in some way, right? It's about learning how to remake the world in this case.
By chewing your way out of the box there.
It's by chewing your way out of the box. Come on, it's Kitty Tarot. It's about hard work paying off. In this particular tarot case, the cat has been given a fine box. And we all know the cat loves that. But the cat needs to modify it. The cat is applying due diligence in making the box its own, in customizing it in the way that the cat needs it to be. Okay? Since you wanted to bring up the cat in a box, there's the story behind that card. And so what does it all mean together? It means that, holy crap, things are spinning out of control. We know that. We feel it in our bones. We feel exhausted at the end of the day, right? We feel like, can we take any more heartbreak? Watching the disaster of the fires in California, the heartbreak of the genocide in Gaza, the heartbreak of our democracy in flames. Can we take it? Yeah, in fact, we have to, but we have to rest, take care of your energy. Do not doom scroll. Doom scrolling does not help. As my therapist has said to me, worrying is not problem solving, right? We cannot just spin our wheels and deplete ourselves. So rest, vision, and wait for that moment that things become a little more clear, because right now everything is in transition. And as we are approaching the inauguration, as we approach this bizarro land changeover, we have to protect our energy. We have to keep our eyes open, and we have to be ready to respond when we see the opportunity present itself. Until then, to just go like a hamster in a wheel is just exhausting, and it's not really going to get us the benefits we need. So guard your energy, build your skills, take good care, support each other, and love each other fully. That is what we have for you. We are not going to be here next week, by the way. Next week at this time, we will be actually leaving town to visit my family for a couple of weeks. We may be able to stream something the week after that. We may come on at an entirely different time. It's hard to say what the internet connectivity situation is going to be like. But if we can be with you, we will. We know that we will not be with you next week because we will be in transit. So thank you so much for joining us. We actually will continue to put out, I don't know what we call them anymore. We will be able to put out blue sky messages and all of those things. I know that I will be hopefully blogging, and I will put links to that. I am starting a Substack space, and we'll put out links to that on my Blue Sky. You can find me on Blue Sky, Ani Raven.
And let's see, what am I? I'm Teresa 58X on Blue Sky. But if you look up Teresa Mitchell, you'll find me.
And
probably.
we'll be sure to put the links in our channel descriptor page. When I do really get that blog going, I will definitely put the links in our channel descriptor page. We thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us. Please do share this link around. Tell your friends and family. Resend the link as you can.
The buttons.
And please do subscribe if you have not done so already. Subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and like this video.
Our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea.
Much love.
Bye-bye. See you soon.